Thank you for listening to SPN, the Savage Podcasting Network.
You're listening to The Stephen Savage Show on the Savage Podcasting Network. And now here's your host, film and television director, Stephen Savage.
Thank you, Andrea, and welcome everyone to the first episode of the 2023 season of The Stephen Savage Show, the official podcast of the Idlewild International Festival of Cinema, which is coming up pretty quickly here, March 7th through the 12th. And we're going to be celebrating 14 years of filmmaking excellence. And also the Scotland International Festival of Cinema, which will enter its second season this coming April in Peebles, Scotland, and that's April 18th through the 24th. And we have some exceptional films lined up for both festivals this year, and our team's pretty excited to kick off the 2023 Film Festival season with that. We're podcasting to you as usual from Cranium Wheel Studios in beautiful Idlewild, California, just 2 hours east of Los Angeles, but a world away at nearly 6,000 feet high atop Mount San Jacinto. Before we kick off the show, I want to give a huge shout out to my friend and film festival partner Leslie Patterson on the 9 Oscar and 14 BAFTA nominations garnered for the film she co-wrote and produced, the Netflix original World War I epic All Quiet on the Western Front. And Leslie will be returning to the show sometime after the Oscars to talk about her experience navigating the awards season. And yeah, maybe she'll be holding an Oscar or two and a couple of BAFTAs when she comes into the studio. That'd be great. Fingers crossed. And speaking of excited, I'm very excited about my guest for today's show. She's a very busy lady, and pinning down her schedule so that I could have her come on took a bit of time, but I'm happy we finally worked it out. She's an actress and television spokesperson and an on-air personality, as well as one of the most recognized supermodels in the world, appearing in so many print magazines like Maxim, GQ, Cosmopolitan, too many to name here. As an actress, she's appeared in both TV, film, and series like Las Vegas, CSI, Planet of the Apes, The Real Housewives of Miami, and she even did a stint on Dancing with the Stars. So she'll have a lot to talk about. Born in Warsaw, Poland, she moved to the States, I believe when she was just something like 5 years old, but she's returned to Poland many times over the years to host the popular television show Poland's Top Model. And as if that weren't all impressive enough, her work as an animal rights advocate is well known around the world. And on a personal note, she's just one of the sweetest people I know. And though it's too early to say too much about it, it looks like she and I will be working together on a feature film very soon. But now she's here with me today via phone to chat about, whatever comes to our minds. So let me welcome in Ms. Joanna Krupa. Joanna, how are you, my friend?
Hi, sweetheart. I'm good. How are you? Sorry, my voice is a little hoarse, but my daughter's been, she started preschool in October, and ever since then, as my friends always said, once your child starts going to school, they're always sick. So she's always sick, and Mama's starting to get sick. So my voice hasn't gotten back to it 100%. So if it sounds a little bit off, that's why.
You sound fine, but yeah, it's funny. I've been seeing little posts that you put up about you two both getting sick and then feeling better, then getting sick again. Yeah. Where are you calling from? It's hard to keep up with you sometimes. You're always on the road or in the air. It sounds like you're in your car there. Where are you right now?
I am. I'm actually driving. I'll be parked in a minute. I'm in the Tarzana area, Los Angeles.
Okay, yeah. Cool. Even though you and we talk quite a bit, it's been a while since I actually sat in the same room with you. I believe we had lunch at the Aroma Cafe in Studio City a few years back with our mutual friend Katie Cleary. And if I'm not mistaken, we grabbed lunch not long after that in West Hollywood somewhere. I can't remember the restaurant.
Yes, it was right on Sunset Boulevard, I recall. But my goodness, it's been a few. Yeah, it's definitely been a few.
We're long overdue for a visit, I'd say. So I'm glad you're able to come on today, and I'm really stoked that we're moving forward on this film project. So
yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. In the meantime, with all that's going on since the last time I saw you, as you mentioned earlier, you've had a baby girl, and just seeing her on your little family Instagram post, she's just the cutest thing ever. So congrats on that. Motherhood seems to suit you pretty well.
Thank you. Yeah, she's a doll. She's definitely a handful. She's an energizer bunny. Sometimes I wish I had half the energy she does, but it's amazing how motherhood just really changes your outlook on life, and everything that seemed important isn't as important as it is,
Right.
so like the little stuff don't matter as much as they used to, and you worry about totally different things. But yeah, it's an amazing thing. I definitely recommend it for anybody that's thinking of having kids. It changes your life, and it definitely makes you realize you can love. There's no love that compares to being a parent. Like there's nobody, I think, in life that you can fall in love with as much as your child. So
Right.
it's the most beautiful love. Yes.
Well, you jumped back into your career pretty quick. That was amazing. I mean, you were back in shape and back working again in no time at all. And that's when I know people like you who just have that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to have the kid, and then I'm not missing a beat. That just seems to be the way you.
Yeah, no, and it's I traveled with her when I was pregnant. She worked with me on my show in Poland. She did photo shoots with me, covers, while she was in mommy's belly. So I feel like she absorbed some of that, because now I feel like she can be Miss Entertainment when the time comes. But yeah, no, I love my work. It's my passion, and I didn't want, just because I have a child, totally change my life where I no longer focus on my career, because that's honestly, aside from my child, that's what makes me happy. Like when I'm working, that's when I am in my true happiness zone. And yeah, I would never give that up for anything, because why give up something that you love doing?
Yeah, but it's also a personality thing. But successful people in my life, are just that kind of person. I was just talking about my friend Leslie Patterson, who's
yes, congratulations to her. Amazing.
She's so amazing. You'll probably meet her very soon, and she's a 5-time world champion triathlete, and
wow.
And then she gets into this film business, and in a matter of 8 to 10 years, she's up for Oscars. And yeah, so people like you and her, and you guys just make things happen, and they say surround yourself with successful people and people with the kind of energy that will uplift you as well. It elevates.
Of course,
everything.
Yeah, motivates you. Exactly.
Yeah. So, I'd love to tell my listeners who aren't 100% up on your life and beginnings a bit about your upbringing before becoming such a well-known figure, because yours is a really interesting story. And I've been curious. I've talked to you a little bit about it, but your family's journey from Poland to the Chicago area, and even though you were very little, that must have had an impact on you and your view of the world. And then you all ended up in Los Angeles somehow. So if you don't mind, you can condense it as much as you like, but if we could start from the beginning in there somewhere and just tell us about your life. Tell us your life.
Yeah, well, basically, I was born in Warsaw, Poland, and and it was like communist time during Poland at that time. And when I was 5 years old, my mother and I decided to emigrate from Poland to Illinois, to Chicago, where my mother's mother and her sister were already living. And she wanted to provide a better life for me, because it was communist Poland. She didn't know what the future held there, and she wanted to provide a better life for me, not knowing what the future will hold, regardless if it's in Poland or in the USA. But at that time, America was the dream. Everybody wanted to live in America. Plus her family was already here. So we emigrated. At 5 years old, I don't know if I really felt much of a difference, but once I got a little bit older, I did get teased, I did get bullied, I did get spit on, I got gum thrown at me, because that's Polish. Blonde, I always had the blonde jokes, the Polish jokes. So it was always the double whammy. And but always in my heart, like I was into the entertainment business. Also, I love to dance. So as a young girl, when we moved to Illinois, I did ballet and tap dancing. But in my heart, I always wanted to be in front of the camera. My mother knew it at a young age. Like I knew it, that you wanted to be in the spotlight somehow. So she, signed me up to a modeling school back in the day. I think I was like 13. And, I wasn't your typical 5'9" model where all, the high fashion designers, they wouldn't take models under 5'9". So, I had to get a little creative, but I knew, I need to move out of Illinois in order to pursue something bigger. And I knew it was either at that time, Miami was still, pretty good for the modeling industry, but I had, to choose between Miami, Los Angeles, and New York.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew New York would not be the right market for me because being, 5'7" would probably be a little bit tough to get into an agency where they took me seriously as a model because, they were kind of like, no, if you're not a 5'9", forget about it. So I knew it would have been a tough road.
Mm-hmm.
And, in my head, I thought, okay, Los Angeles would be the easier route. But surprisingly, or not surprisingly, I was pretty shocked as, I was going from one agency to another, like, nope, you're not 5'9", you're too short, you're too curvy, you're too this. It was always something that wasn't right for that time frame. And I was the type of person I didn't want to give up. And that time when I left Chicago when I was 20. I moved out. I packed up my Mitsubishi Eclipse. My mother and my uncle drove out with me, where I did get a ticket in Iowa, driving a little bit too fast. So I did get my first speeding ticket driving to California. And but I know, and the one big reason I picked up and left knowing I wanted to leave, but he helped me leave quicker, was my ex-boyfriend at the time. He kind of told me, well, it's your decision. You either choose me or your career. I'm like, well, that's an easy choice. And I didn't tell him for about a month. He had no idea that I was moving out to California. Probably after a month I called him, but we drove out. I had nowhere to stay. I had no money in my pocket, basically. I had no job lined up. So I was kind of like, okay, what do? I come to California, and the place that I actually found online, not knowing the different areas yet in Los Angeles, it was, once we arrived in that area, it was a very, very bad part of Los Angeles. So my mother's like, there's no way you can stay here. So I just checked into a hotel and kind of like, called a few friends. I had a friend in Illinois that she was a designer, and I knew she had some friends and contacts in California. I said, listen, I'm in a very desperate situation. I just, drove thousands of miles and I have nowhere to stay. I'm staying at a hotel. Obviously, I can't stay here forever. I need, a place of mine. So she helped me get a roommate in Long Beach. So that helped me get on my feet a little bit until I started working. I worked as an assistant in West Hollywood. So I basically drove every day from Long Beach, which is a long haul with traffic.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
but I knew I had to, I had to do something since I couldn't get hired for an agency to give me the chance, to pursue my dreams. And eventually I met somebody that became a friend of mine that also had an agency. He's like, I think you have potential. Let me help you. He's like, I'll introduce you to this one photographer. Maybe he'll do a test shoot with you and see how that goes. So I went with him. We did a photo shoot together. And he did have, relationships with magazines worldwide. And he submitted me to Maxim magazine in Holland, and they loved the photos, and they chose me as their cover girl for Maxim Holland. And that's kind of how that journey started. But I did, he did have a manager that came in to look at his model portfolio. She's like, I want to, I'm looking for new talent. So she was going through his, model portfolio, and she stopped at my photos. Something about my photos were intriguing to her. And she's like, who's this girl? And he's like, it's just another blonde girl that just wants to be a model just like everybody else. And she's like, no, there's something special about her. I want to meet her. So he's like, okay, he gave her my information, Nadia, which I think you've talked in the past with, maybe. I don't remember if you did or not, but so she was my manager for a while. But so when I met her, finally, I come into, and I remember this day as it was yesterday. I come into the restaurant, and she's about 6 feet tall, and she looks at me, and she's like, "Where's the rest of you?" I'm like, she's like, because she said on photos, I photograph much taller than I am. At 5'7", she thought I was 5'9", 5'10". She's like, oh boy, okay, well. You don't have the height for the model of what they're looking for now. So we just got to find something creative, So she found an outlet for me because we did the magazine for Holland and Maxim. She's like, maybe this is your direction, you know, the sexy swimsuit, lingerie model, and, you know, try to get magazines interested in you. And, you know, so we kind of started with international before anything happened in the US. And then we got, you know, a magazine out of Australia interested. They flew me out to Fiji. We did a photo shoot, and I was supposed to do a shoot for their Inside magazine editorial. But they're like, you know what, you're amazing. Well, we're going to switch it, and you're going to get the cover, where they named me the sexiest swimsuit model in the world, which for me was like, oh my God, what? So because of that title, magazines were like, who's this girl? Who's this girl? And that's how I got all these magazine covers. And then America started getting interested, like, who is this girl? Who's this girl? The Playboy approached me because I was doing, I did this movie in Guam, Max Havoc, Curse of the Dragon back in the day. So They gave me a celebrity pictorial for Playboy. So it kind of all happened without me planning it, you know, but also not giving up. Because once I came here and everyone's like, no, you're too short, you're too curvy. It's not the, you know, maybe as an actress yet, but not as a model. And at that time, maybe I didn't realize that, yeah, I could have probably went to a talent agency, not a modeling agency. I probably could have got an agent as you know, an actor and take classes and do acting school. But, you know, in my heart, I felt I wanted to do the modeling thing. So it happened, you know, organically. And sometimes I think things happen for a reason, even if you think you know, people tell you you're not right for something or you're not going to make it. As long as that's how I tell everybody that asks me. And I said, as long as you really have passion to do something and you love to do something, don't let somebody tell you can't do it. You know, find a creative way around it. If you're, you know, because if you don't give up and if they throw you out through the door, go through the window, like, just try. Don't let somebody tell you can't do something, you know. But also be realistic. You know, I knew I was photogenic. I knew I had a, you know, cute body. I knew I wasn't like, you know, kind of envisioning something that maybe would have never came true. So I really was very confident with myself. And even when I was in high school, I was working at a telemarketing company, which I hated, I will say. And anytime a telemarketer calls me, I'm super nice to them because I'm like, I know it's a tough job. And I did that in high school to pay my bill for my car. And the manager there that worked at the company, he's like, wow, you look, and every time he got the different catalogs of the different, like, swimwear catalogs, like, wow, you look so much like this model. And she was Daniela Pestova. She was a Victoria's Secret model back in the day, and she was like one of my favorite models. Like, my gosh, you look so much like her, you know. So he kept me motivated. Okay, I think I can do this. I can do this. So yeah, it was a fun journey, you know, 20 some years ago.
Yeah, you know what? Well, first of all, you had support of your family early on. That's so important.
Of course.
People don't realize how important that is. But it's also, the other thing is, having no safety net. You didn't say, well, I'm going to get my degree so I can teach. And there's two things that happen with people who do that. One is they end up being frustrated and they move back to Des Moines or wherever they're from. The other is they become successful. And I find that probably the vast majority of the people that I know who have found success in this industry are people who had no safety net at all. They just went for it. And
they went for it, They had everything to lose, basically.
Yeah, that's right. So that safety net, I tell people, is like, my safety net is I can't do anything else but this. And so I know that. No,
that's true. That's true.
I can fall on my ass, but
but then when it doesn't happen, you're like, oh boy, I wish, you know, I was 20 again, I could go back to school and do everything over again, you know. So it's it's a risk, but hey, if it's something that you truly feel you can do and, you know, and want to give it 150%, why not? You know, so you never have regrets. To school, you can always go back, I always say, you know. Yeah,
sure. I mean, but and then, you know, your sister, Marta, is also a model, but did she follow in your right on your heels and footsteps, or how did her thing happen? Did you try to talk her out of it, or so don't get into this business?
Actually, I'm the one that kind of got her more into it. So when she moved to Los Angeles a little bit after me, not to really pursue the business, but just to be in California, aside from, you know, she didn't want to be in Illinois anymore. And then once I was, you know, doing all these magazines, then the manager at the time, she's like, hey, you know, you have a sister that's that's really pretty, and maybe we can do something with the sisters. Magazines love sisters, TV shows love sisters, so she kind of came up with like Krupa sisters, and we did a lot of magazine covers worldwide with the Krupa sisters. And so that was fun to work with her. Then then we did the Housewives together, which wasn't the greatest experience for her or I. Like it was for the time being it was okay, but like when I look back I'm like Yeah. But Dancing with the Stars was always my dream to do. So when I got the phone call that they want me on the dancing, that made my whole career. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
I finally got my real dream that I wanted to do. And so then Martha got married. She was with her now ex-husband for 10 years, and she kind of went away from the business. Now she's 10 years later, she's really going full force, and she's an amazing voice. So she's working on music. She has like 4 or 5 songs that she wrote, and then she's getting produced and stuff. So I wish her tons of luck to have huge success in the music industry, because I think she has the talent, and and that's her passion now. So whatever happens, at least she's focusing. She kind of put everything on the side when she was in a relationship with her ex-husband. So I think now it's her time to focus on her, and hopefully it works out and in her favor.
Yeah, it's funny that you and I, the minute you started talking about your reality TV experience, and everyone I've known, including myself, who have dabbled in that, just the experience isn't that great, I did a show for A&E. I directed a bunch of episodes of this thing. It was Sons of Hollywood, and it was just like Rod Stewart's son Sean. Oh my God! And I couldn't wait. Just sitting there with a camera crew and watching these guys implode was not my idea of what I wanted to do with my life. So, exactly. But having said that, I would say that you brought up Dancing with the Stars. That's cool. I mean, first of all, that show's such a phenomenon, and lots of actors and others who've sort of faded from the spotlight over the years, I've noticed, have revitalized their careers just by appearing on that show. You don't fall into that category, of course, but you were just doing a great job looking. You reminded me of this Las Vegas showgirl on steroids. You just had this thing, So, but that seemed like it was a good experience for you overall.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a tough show. I mean, a few months before that, I did another show for ABC called Superstars, which was me with Tara Owens. It was models or celebrities with different athletes, and that was really tough. But so then I realized, because coming from the modeling world, doing all these pretty magazine covers, and then to actually doing a competition show, I'm like, oh shoot, I'm really competitive, and I didn't realize how competitive I was. So I think at first they were a little bit worried that I might be too competitive, and it's a live show. I'm like, no, don't worry. I always dreamt of doing this show, so I'll be on my best behavior. But, there was moments I'm like, I was so frustrated with myself, because trying to learn how to dance, and literally, and like Derek was such an amazing, one of the best choreographers, and it was such a dream to work with him. But it's like literally it took me out of we had 6 days or 5 days to prepare. It literally took me 3 days for it to sink in. He's showing me these moves. I'm like, I don't know. I'm so I can't get this. It was one of the toughest things I've ever done in my life. When I came home, I told my ex-husband at the time, I'm like, okay, don't talk to me. I'm not in a good mood. I'm so exhausted. I just want to be left alone. I don't want anybody talking to me. I just want to chill, silence,
Yeah.
So he knew to stay away from me because I was just so stressed out, because it was really, because I wanted to be the best. So it's this competitive side came out, and I'm just like, oh, I can't get eliminated. I need to stay. So it wasn't just, learning to dance, but I also had to compete. I wasn't the biggest celebrity, because during my season they had big names there. They had over 20 million viewers. So it was a real competition. I had Donny Osmond, I had Kelly Osbourne, I had Maya, and so there's a lot of big names, and so I really had to dance well in order to stay in the competition, or I would have been eliminated long ago. So yeah, I had I had pressure from all sides basically, but it was one of the most amazing experiences. I'm so happy I got a chance to do that, and we'll be able to tell my daughter about it one day, and we watch it together. Even though I show her now, she probably doesn't realize yet that it's mommy. But yeah, she's
it's just so athletic. I mean, that's the other thing. People don't realize that dancing like that is an athletic event.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It shows off what people. I mean, it's a sport. It's sometimes a full contact sport.
No joke, exactly.
So, speaking of TV, you've been. I guess I don't know the whole history, but you've been the host of Poland's Next Model for what has it been, a decade now, 10 seasons, and
yes, it's been 11 seasons. We just finished 11 seasons. I'm basically, just to easily explain it, I'm the Polish Tyra Banks.
Yeah, I think as it shows a big hit in your home country.
It's huge.
How different
it's
is
one
it?
of the top shows.
How different is it working in Poland as opposed to the U.S.? So what are the big differences in, say, production from here and in Europe in general? You've worked all over. Are there any big adjustments you have to make when you're working there?
No, not at all. I mean, I was actually surprised, taking this 11 years ago. I was just like, I wasn't sure how the production looks compared to all the stuff that I've experienced in the States. And I will tell you, it's the same level. It's like such talented people, amazing, quality of products, especially big shows like that. So it's just a pleasure for me to do it. And it's like, I love doing it. And so people be surprised. It's identical to the production that goes on now. It's really on great quality. It's great quality.
The quality, because the clips I've seen, it looks just like anything ABC or anybody else had put on. But I was just meaning more of, is there a different way that they work? But it sounds like you're saying everything is pretty much, you could just slot in from the U.S. and drop into Poland, and you wouldn't feel any difference.
No, you wouldn't. But you know what? They feel a difference.
Do they?
Because I think I'm the only. I don't like to call myself like a celebrity or a star or a name because I'm very humble. So I don't like to. I don't like to say it. But like in Poland, I'll say I'm a huge name. Everybody knows who I am there. But it's crazy. When I first went there, I'm the only person like from America that's working on productions there, and they're like, "How is this possible? Like you don't complain. You're always on time. You're so sweet. You're so professional." And all these Polish stars, they're these divas. They're late. They they whine and like. I'm like, well, I think it's the American way of being in the entertainment business, because here people are professional. Yes, of course, we have our divas and we have our people that we won't name names, but overall. If you're doing something that you're passionate about, you love to do it, why shouldn't you be nice? Why shouldn't you treat the camera guy the same as you treat the janitor, or the same way you treat a celebrity or a big actor? Like, to me, everybody's the same. You treat people with respect. It doesn't matter what their status is, because we're all humans. We all feel pain. We all feel sadness. Like, it's like, why, So they were like, wow, we just wish everybody worked like you. I'm like, well, there's just one me, so get used to it.
Yeah, I don't get the bad person. I mean, I've had to kick a few famous people off of film sets for acting.
And good for you.
But
yeah, good for you. You weren't. Yeah.
Mostly it's because they're drunk, but I won't name names. But I did have a really
it's
big.
It's a different show all around. Yeah, please start naming names. Right?
I had a very well-known actor who I kicked off for being rude to a production assistant.
Oh, good for you.
Well, it's just when you're a director, you have to have the backs of your people. The ship needs a captain, and that captain needs to look out for his peeps. And but anyway, I know where you're coming from. It's just I don't see. One of my early mentors was Walter Hill, 48 Hours, and he's just done so many big movies, and he told me. He said, when you get on the set, it will take you a few days, but when you get on set, even though you're working, start learning people's names. Even the person who's just the production assistant who's just locking down set and he's, 3 blocks away or whatever. Get to know their names, and when you see them, just, hey John, or hey Margaret, how's your hotel room? Are you getting enough to eat? Is everything good? And he said those people will move mountains for you because they know you care, and it's
it makes them feel good, makes them feel quality, like they're not any less important. 100%, exactly. I agree.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So that's always worked for me, and it's not just playing lip service. It's like, why not get to know these people?
Why not? Exactly.
They're just as involved in making your movie what you want it to be and creating your vision as anyone else, just because it's the guy who's cleaning the toilets in the honey wagon, that guy's important, because if your big
For
star
sure.
goes into their trailer and,
And it's a mess, you're going to see it.
That's right. So, you had brought up something about looks, and let's just talk about typecasting for a minute. And I know you've probably struggled with that in the past. I mean, beautiful women as well as great-looking guys. When someone's super attractive, you can be limited by the fact that producers and directors can't see past that. And I remember seeing something on TMZ. I was just flicking through, and I don't watch that show, but I saw you were on there, and I forget the host's name, but he goes, yeah, this is, if you're as close to a 10 as you're going to get in Hollywood, is Joanna Krupa. And I go, well, if Joanna's not a 10, I don't know who would be. But the fact is that that when you do, people do see you as that model and the person on magazine covers, they may take you a little less serious as an actress. So how has that affected you personally, and how do you fight back?
Oh, for sure. I think at the beginning, you always get the casting of the hot chick, the hot bikini chick, the hot mom, or the hot girl next door. It was always like, that now I think because I have, and plus when I had my manager, she said, no, she couldn't actually act. You don't want to just limit her to that, that stuff. So of course, like when I played a bartender. Of course, I played a cute bartender, but still, at least I was more like girl next door. So I wasn't like, my boobs popped up with a push-up. I actually looked like a girl next door. It's sweet. And so I think as long as you have the right people, that represent you, or you go into the right meetings and people get to meet you, oh, she's not just this typical blonde bombshell or beauty that, is always with her boobs out, with like mini skirts and big hair, and she's a little ditzy, or just because she's pretty, she might be dumb. So I think that the more that you meet people in the industry, the more serious they take you, the more they respect you, and they're like, wow, she's actually a normal person. She's not a ditch. She's not this typical blonde model type that you would think. So I think it's also personal meetings, like you and I met years ago, and you got to see probably a side of me that you wouldn't think just looking on a magazine cover, or seeing on the Housewives, or watching dancing. Or so I think it's also those kind of relationships are important, and also how you treat each other, like the respect, and if you really like somebody, and so I think it's just like those in-person relationships are very, very important for people to get to know you, aside from just
That's
thinking,
a great
okay,
point. That's such a great point, because the first time I met you, thinking about a film, you had your hair kind of up. I don't think it was a ponytail, but it was kind of up.
Felt like a bun, kind of casual bun up,
And I think that was a smart move for you. You showed up as just a basic, sundress and everything. And I saw you as, well, she could play the mom of a young kid, or she could play, like you said, the bartender, or she could play a cop. Because when you go to meetings like that, how you present yourself is right off the bat is pretty important. And
for sure,
I think you were pretty smart how you played that. And speaking of that, we got acquainted through a script I'd written called The Wind of Heaven, and that project got so far, and then the funding dropped off at the last minute. Now, it was really unfortunate, because what's his name, Justin Hayward from the Moody Blues, had written a song for the movie. He read the script and just loved it, and he's into the animal rescue and things like that. And I'm sitting at a concert, a Moody Blues concert, and he stands up there and goes, "Oh, this is a song I wrote when I read this script by," and it was like, I'm going, "Wow, that's pretty trippy." It's
that's
surreal.
Pretty impressive.
But,
it's amazing.
Unfortunately, the project only made it to the pre-production phase, but there is talk about reviving it. I think I told you.
Oh,
so,
awesome. You did. Yeah.
One of my producing partners, Trinity Houston, was the driving force behind that movie, and she's talked many times about getting that back together in the near future. But the backstory to that script revolved around the plight of wild horses on our national park lands, and your animal activism, like your work with PETA and other organizations, was the reason I wanted to bring you onto that project early on, because I knew you could help me learn also about the issue. But how much time do you have to devote now that motherhood is added to your plate? And You only have so much time. You're flying back to Poland, and I have to say, your work trying to end these entities like SeaWorld, and it just makes me angry. I don't even want to get into it, but that's been something I've watched closely. I'm a pretty right-wing guy, I'm a little right of center, but when it comes to those issues, like the elephants and the wolves and these animal world kind of things, I just get really angry, And
it makes me angry.
I'm glad I get to feed off of you. But are you able to be involved on the same level with these organizations as you were a few years back?
You know what, like years back, I also did more kind of like where I go in and I help transport animals from shelters and I fostered. That's how I ended up with like 12 dogs at one time at home. So now I definitely can't, foster and bring them in because with traveling and everything, it makes it hard as it is when you have the animals to do that. But I make sure, to donate and especially to small organizations that are really in need, like, other countries too. I do as much as I can promoting the different shelters when I'm in Poland with all the different, like the different areas, like also during like the war in Ukraine with all the animals coming from Ukraine. So just, trying to spread the awareness that way as much as I can. I did a video with PETA recently as well. So, I still am in the loop and I still try to do as much as I can and give my voice. But instead of doing like actually going and fostering the pets, it's a little tough for me unless I had somebody that can take care of them and I wouldn't have to worry about, who's gonna take care of them when I leave town. That's the only issue. But so yeah, I'm still 100% involved, not as hands-on when it comes to that part.
You can do a lot more, I think, and it surprises people, but you can be hands-on, or you could probably, Joanna Krupa, could do a lot more for these organizations by just doing what you do, being who you are, rather than trying to get so hands-on with...
Exactly, yeah. I think it goes a long way for sure. And, I'm actually working, it's all still very fresh, a project around the animal rescue, which for me would, I wanted to do something for a very, very long time and, just timing wise. And now with all the platforms available, I think this is the right timing. So it's like one of my babies where we're just about to get it, where we're going to try to get it all together and see what happens. But I have good, I have good positive energy that something will give, and that would be a huge dream, another big dream of mine if once it does happen, because it will be able to help a lot, and not only the animals, also be able to help the non-fur babies, which are the humans. So I think the idea that I have is a great and inspiring one, and I'll share with you as soon as I can once I have a little bit something to let you know what it is. I would love to show that, and hopefully next time we talk in the next maybe not the next time we talk because I'll see you before then, but maybe the next 6 months to a year we'll have something more to talk about, that my dream became a reality. So.
Oh, that's really, I'm looking forward to hearing about that. We're about to wrap it up here. I didn't want to keep you too long, but we're doing pretty good on time. So where do you see yourself in 10 years? What will Joanna Krupa's life look like, as opposed to as it does right now? Do you feel do you have aspirations? I always see you as like becoming a world explorer or something like that, or a jet pilot. I don't know, just knowing you, it just seems to me that there are things up your sleeve that I have no idea about. Nothing would surprise me.
You know what I've learned in my life, the more you plan ahead, the more things don't turn the way you wanted, or you get disappointed. So I kind of am, I have my visions, I have my dreams, and I just want to continue to do what I love to do. Be able to be creative, be able to travel, be able to give back, promote my passions, and be a good mother, number one, of course, be a good mother, and hopefully when she's old enough to make those decisions, maybe we can do some fun stuff together as a mommy daughter duo, and just have her around. But I just I truly see myself doing what I'm doing the next 10 years, because it really brings me joy and happiness, and that's basically my second child aside from my dogs, of course. So maybe, so I have 3 kids. I have my daughter, my work, and my doggies. So.
Right. You're yeah, I just see you. It's amazing all the stuff you managed to throw into a year. But I know your husband Douglas is pretty busy as well. How often are you guys actually able to hang out? It seems like you're both in.
Because I'm the one that travels a lot, so he's always at home. So
Right.
we see each other very much, probably too much, to be honest with you. But so it's usually me traveling. Like the longest I've been away, where I take my daughter with me, is about 6 weeks, and but that's the longest I've been away.
Right. Well, this has been a lot of fun for me. Finally, having you on the podcast.
Yay! Finally, I know.
Before I let you go, where can people find out more about how they keep up with you and all your journeys? Is Instagram or Facebook the best way? Or?
Yeah, Instagram is definitely the best way. That's I'm hands-on with the Instagram, and my animal rescues on there. We're actually doing a fundraiser now for our Angels for Animal Rescue, which they can, click on and get to know our organization a little bit better. But, it's just a small organization. We, try to find foster parents so we can help pull animals from the high-risk kill shelters and, so any kind of help. But fosters, we're desperate need of foster parents.
It's funny because I know I can text you and it's about a 50-50 chance I'll hear back from you within a day. When I send you a direct message on Instagram, you're back to me in 3 seconds.
Yeah, I'm usually pretty good even text messaging. So maybe because my phone, sometimes it puts under, because there's 2 for text messages, it says all messages, and then there's all different lines, like known sender, unread messages. It's weird because sometimes it falls under unknown senders, which I've texted with you before. So it's weird. It happens to a few people. So I apologize. I will be very much more alert.
I don't mind catching you on Instagram. It's like, I use Facebook Messenger, believe it or not, a lot, because it just becomes like with a couple of my partners, it's just easier to do that sometimes, especially, I work with a lot of people who are traveling around the world a lot, and that's sometimes texting doesn't quite go through as quick as a message will be.
International.
So I know where to find you. That's okay.
Exactly. Yeah, I won't be able to hide. That's for sure.
Awesome. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Stephen Savage Show. And just a reminder, some of the upcoming guests I have lined up include a return to the podcast of Oscar and Golden Globe nominated actress, my good friend Ann Archer, and a visit from my friend, actress and activist, and the voice of Disney's Pocahontas, Irene Bedard. I'm looking forward to that. But now for Joanna Krupa and myself, thanks for listening in and downloading, and and thanks for being here. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much, Joanna.
Thank you.